This is the truth between the beef between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey. Now, Bernie Mac, who we knew coming up based off my uncle. My uncle was an employee at Doc's Fish. Anybody from Chicago, y'all know about Doc's. Bernie Mac used to work at Doc's Fish with my uncle. And Bernie Mac, right then, from my uncle will tell you, was the funniest man alive at that time. He was the funniest man alive. Then. And he was always talking about doing shows and going into comedy. So he'd be like, man, he telling my uncle, like, man, because my uncle is funny. My uncle's hilarious. And him and Bernie, man, he was like, man, I used to be cracking Bernie up. And Bernie was like, you should come do this comedy thing with me. Come on, man, we're going to go up here and do this comedy. And Bernie used to roast the boss all the time. He used to imitate the boss, and he telling people, hey, man, you burning up there. He's like, Bernie used to have everybody in there cracking up, and the boss could not stand Bernie. He was like, you keep it up, I'm going to fire you, Bernie. Because Bernie had come in late and stuff, but he'd been with his wife the whole time. He's always talking about his wife. And he'll do that. Like, man, I'm doing this comedy thing, man. You should come up there with me. And he was like, man, I'll try to come see this show, but he couldn't go up there. And he'll be doing most of the jokes at work and cracking everybody up. And my uncle never thought, to see Bernie doing anything. And the first time he saw Bernie Mac was on the Def Comedy Jam. That was the first time he seen Bernie since he was working at Doc's Fish, and was like, man, that's Bernie Mac. I used to work with him. So it brought back a lot of memories. And to watch Bernie on the show, Bernie killed it. Just like he done everything here in Chicago. He blazed it. And because of the strength of that, people were putting him in more stuff to ever come around, like movies. He had big roles in Hollywood that Don't Drink Your Juice in the Hood. People remember Bernie Mac. If the movie sucked, it could be a terrible movie like House Party 3. You remember Bernie Mac. Let me tell you something. I hit my girl because they black. I hate the back of Forrest Whitaker's neck. I was cracking up watching Don't Drink the... What's that? Don't Be a Minute. Oh, man. And then House Party 3, the dinner scene, the only thing that was worth anything was Bernie Mac. Don't worry about him, Auntie. I got a place for him. So, anyway, going through all these years and doing these roles, it wasn't until the Kings of Comedy that Bernie Mac become a household name with everybody. That resonated with everybody. That whole comedy tour. That tour put every Bernie in everybody's household and face, because he was already the face you knew. But now you finna get to love him. Because he owned it. Every show they did, Bernie Mac tore the house down. Every single one. And Steve Harvey did what he normally does. He hosts. And Steve Harvey came to Chicago and really blew up and got a job based off of him going to the radio station and calling in and doing his little bits that he would do on the radio to get people to come see his show. He was so good that they got him a job where he normally come on the radio show because he has a great voice for radio. He's good for adult comedy, the mature adult comedy. The younger kids ain't gonna really relate to him, but he got the older generation, the 30s and above, and people that work, and they understand his comedy. And Steve Harvey's funny. I don't know why people think like you gotta like somebody and hate another one. Steve's funny. It's just that when Kings of Comedy was over, he thought the doors was gonna be knocking down for all of them. I'm like, Steve Harvey had a show, TV show. Everybody had something except for Bernie. DL had a show. Everybody had a show except for Bernie. Bernie, y'all, I know why y'all won't give me a show. Y'all afraid I'm gonna say something. So, next thing you know, he gets a call to do Ocean's 11. He had an audition. And when they did the remake of Ocean's 11, he killed it. Bernie Mac killed him. And since then, he had became a box office star and dream. And he kept getting the movie calls. He kept getting the movie roles. The comedians was all asking for him. You know, he brought the house down. Eddie Murphy, and when he brought Martin Lawrence and them in, and they brought in what's his name, Bernie Mac. That was it for life. That kind of put him in a lot of people's faces, so then he can get that tour on the Kings of Comedy. But I'll tell you right now, when I've listened to 1,000 comedians. Nobody made me laugh harder than Bernie Mac. Period. Bernie was it. Because Bernie is somebody that, for me, he like somebody in my family. He remind me of somebody from my family. When you see him and the way he do comedy, it's like somebody in your house telling jokes. That's just drop dead funny. And that's Bernie Mac. He understood the elements of comedy, and everybody got it. Now, the problem was Steve Harvey was watching everybody else's career go, and he doing the Johnson's Family Reunion, or he got a little bit part in this movie, Love Don't Cost a Thing. And everybody like, man, their careers are flourishing. His is stuck to the TV show and dwindling down while he watching everybody else sell. So there's a GQ article where Bernie Mac was saying jokingly with the guy from GQ that Steve Harvey was trying to steal his movie roles for him. It was a bit jealous. But he was joking with the GQ guy. The GQ guy was trying to use it to stir the pot with Bernie and put it in like a serious format and took the tone out of the language. So now it's like, and his partner in crime from Kings of Comedy, Steve Harvey, he was trying to steal roles from me. You know, it's like, quote, like it was serious. But if you knew Bernie wasn't saying it like that. He wasn't saying it at all. So Steve Harvey is an emotional guy. So he was like all hurt, and instead of making a call to see was it true, he felt Bernie should have been calling me. So he gonna tell Sid, I just read what Bernie put in that GQ magazine, and I don't think I'm gonna be supporting Bernie no more. And Sid already knew, like, man, that's some BS, man. You ain't, that writer could have wrote that wrong. Talk to Bernie. And he had talked to, because I think somebody reached out to Bernie and let Bernie know that Steve was feeling a certain way. And he was like, tell Steve, man, he's like, tell him I'm going to call him when I get a break. Because he's like, my health been kind of, messed up. His sarcoidosis was messed up. So he didn't have a chance to talk to him. So he said, tell him I said I'll get in contact with him. Don't worry about it. So when everything was said and done, Sid went ahead and got the message to him, and then I think him and Steve talked one time, and it got to the point where he said, man, I didn't say it like that. And they worked there, they talked everything out, but everything was cool, but Steve was still feeling a certain way. And then he never got a chance to really patch things up with Bernie. You know what I'm saying? So Bernie ended up passing away, and he talked to Bernie's wife, and that's when, he was like, she was like, yeah, he would want you to speak, at his funeral, so I want you to go ahead and do that. And that's when Steve came up there and did what he did. But his being petty, it was always heavy on his heart, because even though Bernie told him that's not what he said and everything else, and he was like, all right, he was still feeling a certain way and holding on to petty pride. And he said he didn't get a chance to really talk to his friend, because he looked at Bernie like, man, we was friends, and then now he's gone, and I ain't had we never really get to hang out again after that. So, for those reasons, that happened. But that was the issue that happened between the two. Both of them are great comedians. And this is why I try to tell people, man, y'all just don't get it. Y'all just think, like, you got to choose one or the other. You don't. There's no rule saying you can't like more than one comedian. That you got to like one and hate the other. I watched this Kevin Hart and Cat Williams thing. I'm like, Cat Williams got the most success he wanted, to have his name put up next to Kevin Hart's. When he was the it guy, they was coming after him. The other comedians. It never works. It's never going to pull you to the top of the forefront. It's the only way you're going to get there is hard work. And not being stupid. But you can like both. If you don't, you choose, like, I don't like nothing you do. Okay, well, you don't have to like nothing you do. But just because you don't like it don't mean the rest of the world ain't going to like it. You got to take yourself out the equation. The world is bigger than you.